Wednesday, July 16 edition of PFT PM. Just 12 days away from the return of PFT Live. Can't wait to get that rolling. Can't wait to get the season rolling. Can't wait for the slow time to end because it really hasn't been slow. Somebody said last night, how's your break? What break? There's been no break. I've been busier in the 4.5 weeks that we've been off than I will be when we're back on. But if recent times are any indication, it is going to be a very hectic and active and busy 2025 season. And why would we want it any other way? That's why we're here. Are you not entertained? I sure as hell am. Let's get to it. A couple of deals done on Tuesday. And Garrett Wilson one day, Sauce Gardner the next day. Yesterday, I addressed the Garrett Wilson contract, and I said, now the question is, what will the Jets do about Sauce Gardner? And it's no secret that he had a down year in 2024. It's no secret that the coaching staff is pushing him to recover. And there was a fair question. Are they going to do a deal, or are they going to wait until after the year to see how he does? And frankly, if Sauce Gardner had waited a year, if he had said, I want to reestablish myself as a first-team All-Pro before I do my second contract, it would have been worth more than the deal that he signed. What he signed, just like Garrett Wilson, same structure, 4-year extension. Remember, there are no extensions. There are no extensions. There are new contracts. He signed a 6-year contract, just like Wilson. 6-year commitment, just like Wilson. And anytime the new money average is structured in a way that it just beats by a hair the previous high watermark at the position, that's when the antenna start to activate, the spidey sense starts to tingle, and I can't wait to see what the official terms of the deal will be, because it's possible there was a little effort undertaken to get the Sauce Gardner deal just a little bit better than Derek Stingley. And it's already not as good as Stingley because Stingley isn't committed as long as Gardner is. Stingley's got 5 years under contract. Gardner has 6. You always want to get back to market sooner rather than later. So both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner are now committed for 6 years. And whatever the number is now, and again, it's a 4-year, $120.4 million deal, 30.1, just a click above 30, just a click above Stingley, would have been more next year. And part of the structural analysis of this contract is going to be, when can the Jets rip it up and move on? If 2024 wasn't an aberration, if 2024 was the start of some new trend, if the new coaching staff isn't going to be able to get 2022 and 2023 Sauce Gardner back on the field. How many years? Probably 2 at the most. Probably 2. Not many players get 3 years fully guaranteed, either at signing or as a practical matter. So hold that thought. We'll be getting to an example like that in a second. But for Gardner, and like all these deals, once you see the full deal, you can better understand what it means. And the rule of thumb is, the sooner the details are released, the sooner they're leaked, the sooner that someone says, here it is. Take a look. I'm proud of it. The sooner it comes out, the more likely it really is a good deal that holds up to scrutiny. One last Jets point. Breece Hall is eligible for a new contract as well. Now, I don't know that that means he's the guy who gets a deal this week, because the thing going on with the Jets in the running back position, Aaron Glenn, new head coach, has made it clear he wants to use everybody. So it's not like Breece Hall is going to become the workhorse. And it may be that their attitude toward Hall and their running backs is interchangeable parts. And in lieu of giving a big deal to Breece Hall, we will just move on and draft someone, not draft someone, get a free agent, street free agent who can come in. If you can block for him, this is the truth in the NFL. There are so many college running backs that could play at the NFL level. If you block for them, if you trust them to hold on to the football and if you trust them to pick up blitzers in pass protection, they can play and play well at the NFL level. That's the conundrum. And the thing we've learned with the whole running back, remember 2 years ago, the running backs were up in arms and they weren't getting fair pay. And what could we do? Could they break away as their own bargaining unit? All the different ideas. The thing we've learned since then, the truly great running backs deserve to get massive contracts. But if you're not a great running back, you are susceptible to this lather, rinse, repeat. We're going to move on. We're not going to pay you. We'll just go find somebody else. So it may be that the Jets want to see what Breece Hall does this year, and then they'll make a decision next year. Now, he will be a free agent next year unless they would use the franchise tag. All that said, maybe he's Wednesday on the menu. Monday was Garrett Wilson. Tuesday was Sauce Gardner. Wednesday, maybe Breece Hall. We will see. I mentioned earlier the concept of 3-year practical guarantee. Well, the Trey Smith deal got done in Kansas City on the day that was the deadline for turning a franchise tag into a multi-year contract. And as I said, when we first brought this up, he's got a big bird in hand. $23.4 million franchise tender, already the highest paid guard in pro football on a per year average, even though it was a 1-year deal at $23.4. What will the Chiefs offer to get him to surrender $23.4 and either $28 next year under the second tag or shot at the open market? What do you have to do to get him to trade that in? That's what it is at that point. I have this $23.4 and either 28 or free agency. What are you going to give me to get me to give it up? That's why, all due respect to T. Higgins, I don't think his deal was as good as it could have been, because I think the deal that he signed was less than what he had. Second tag, solid money, shot at free agency next year. So Trey Smith takes the deal, and it is a very good deal because what it does, the way it's structured, and all the details are out there because there's nothing to hide. Everybody look at our work. 3 years, $70 million. As a practical matter, guaranteed. Here's why. And this is one of the subtle structural realities of a contract that guarantees a future year that isn't fully guaranteed at signing. 2 years are fully guaranteed at signing. And at the start of the second league year, by March of next year, that's when the third year becomes fully guaranteed. Those rolling guarantees a year in advance ties the team's hands, forces the team. Like, what are the Chiefs going to do after 1 year? Are they going to cut Trey Smith after 1 year? The guy's been a bedrock of their offensive line since he was drafted in round 6 in 2021. They're going to cut him after 1 year? No. He's going to make $70 million fully guaranteed over the next 3 years. Great deal for him. And he signed a 4-year deal. He's committed for only 4 years. Not 5, not 6, not 7, 4. And when I first saw it was a 4-year extension, I thought, okay, he's committed for 5 years because he's got the franchise tag. He's already under contract for this year. No. No, it's a 4-year deal, 3-year extension. And the numbers really don't matter because it was $23.4 for this year. The 4-year, $94 million contract average is $23.5. So it's not like it would have been a big difference to say, ooh, 3-year extension worth $30 million a year. That's part of the game that gets played. We talked about it yesterday with Garrett Wilson. If you look at the extension, woo, you throw in the 2 years that already existed, 32 goes down to 25. So good for Trey Smith and good for the Chiefs. And I don't know how the negotiations went, but one of the points that I would have made on Trey Smith's behalf, you get a lot of value out of this guy because you guys go to the playoffs every year. He's played 13 extra games in 4 seasons. 13 extra games. The last 4 years, the Chiefs have played 20 games, 20 games, 21 games, 20 games. It is amazing. So there's value in that. And I've been kicking around the idea of proposing, as part of the concessions the union could seek in the next CBA talks. I've been kicking around this idea of revamping the playoff pay system, because what guys get in the postseason, especially the guys who are well paid, it's peanuts. And for a team that's back there over and over and over again, there's a point where it's just not fair. I think there should be a league-wide fund that gives the players something comparable to what they make. And that will be part of the negotiation. What do we use? Do we use cap number? Do we use base salary? Do we use roster bonus and base salary? Do we use signing bonus allocation? But there's a number, an agreed to formula that determines the guy's number. That's what he's paid for playoff games, for each playoff game. Win or lose, you're playing an extra game. This isn't a contest. You're playing an extra game. The NFL's making their money either way. You should make your money either way. Your regular season pay is your regular season pay, whether you win or whether you lose. I think the idea of turning it into some sort of a winner take all, winner take more contest, I think that's outdated, and I think it's stupid, and I think it's a way to justify paying the players less money. But it would not be an insignificant amount of money, but it's money that would be separate and apart from the salary cap. It would go into a league-wide fund. It would eliminate the need for playoff incentives, because everybody would have a playoff incentive. Everybody would get fair compensation commensurate with what they make week in and week out if their season continues. And I don't know, maybe you enhance it. Maybe you get a ring if you win it all. But financially right now, like a Patrick Mahomes, he's basically playing for free in the postseason. So just something to think about, and maybe something we'll officially propose at some point, as if anybody gives a rat's ass what we have to propose. Hasn't stopped us at any point in the past 25 years. Okay, Micah Parsons. Now, we talk a lot about Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt. Micah Parsons is part of it. The edge rushers who are looking for new deals. Oh, and Aiden Hutchinson. The Lions have deftly avoided having the Aiden Hutchinson lack of a new contract become a thing. But he's in that bucket as well. Micah Parsons addressing the fact that there are other pass rushers looking for new contracts. His position is, I'm going to get mine no matter what. And he will. And the question is, how much above Myles Garrett is Micah Parsons going to get? And the reality is, the longer the Cowboys wait, the bigger the number will be. Period. If TJ Watt gets past Myles Garrett, well, you know Micah Parsons is getting past that. He's getting past it anyway. I think he could go over $45 million a year in new money by the time it's all said and done. What are the Cowboys going to do? He may have to hold out to get it. He may have to hold out for all of training camp in the preseason. He may. I remember last year, some of the stupid-ass arguments that were made. Well, CeeDee Lamb wouldn't be playing in the preseason anyway, so he's not missing anything. No, but he's not there getting ready for the season. There's something to be said about being with your team, getting ready for the season, not working out on your own wherever you happen to be. Get him in the building, get him ready, get him signed, make it happen. The longer they wait, the more it's going to cost. So for me, the over-under is 45, and maybe it'll land at 45. I don't know. Maybe it'll be higher. I don't know. But yeah, Micah Parsons is, of the guys that are trying to get new contracts, he's clearly the best. What Trey Hendrickson gets, immaterial to Micah Parsons. What TJ Watt gets, immaterial, because Parsons is considerably younger. This is his first opportunity to get a second contract. And he's generally regarded as the most talented defensive player in football. I know we get into the Myles Garrett, TJ Watt debate, but I think most people, coaches, front office executives, owners, scouts, you give them their choice of Parsons, Garrett, and Watt. Most of them are going to take Parsons, unless they're, well, that guy does a lot of podcasts. That guy's a distraction. So is Lawrence Taylor. Not that Micah Parsons is Lawrence Taylor, but there's a point where you're like, who cares if the guy does podcasts? When it's time to play, he plays as well as anyone at the position or on the defensive side of the ball in the National Football League. So, yeah, he will get his. A lot of it's up to the Cowboys. And will he hold out? And will they get him paid? Or will they drag their feet right up until week one? My prediction based on history, they'll drag their feet right up until week one. And if Parsons is smart about it, he'll hold out. Don't give in to this be a team player, you're under contract baloney. They owe you that contract. You played at $3 million last year, and you shouldn't have. At a certain point, you got to take a stand for yourself. Do it, Micah. Do it. Something that Shemar Stewart may do. He's the last unsigned first-round pick. Every other unsigned player is the 30 guys as of right now in round 2 who are caught up in the whole second-round guarantee thing. Shemar Stewart, we know the history. The Bengals are insisting on a change to the language that is relevant to when guarantees will void, or more specifically, the impact of a default. Their current language, if you have a default, it voids your guarantees for this year. They want Stewart to sign a contract that says if you default, it voids all your future guarantees. It is a change in procedure for the Bengals. They want to impose more onerous terms on Stewart, and they haven't offered a corresponding concession. Their attitude is just sign it. What's your deal? Just sign it and go play football. Why are you giving us a hard time about this? Just sign the damn thing. That's basically their attitude. So what could he do? What are his options? We laid them out back in June. And the CBA has contemplated anything and everything that an unsigned, disgruntled draft pick could do. Now, the cleanest and easiest thing, but the thing that also results in no income for the player, at least no direct football income, sit out the whole year and re-enter the draft. If you do that, sit out the whole year, don't play football anywhere, re-enter the draft next year, you get redrafted. Any team but the Bengals could draft Shemar Stewart. That's straight from the CBA. Another option, and this one isn't realistic because there's no other pro league out there that would pay good money to the player, but if he would go play in a pro league, that's covered as well, where the Bengals would still hold his rights, and he, if and when he would come back to the NFL, he would still be contractual property of the Cincinnati Bengals. The one that's relevant here, if he goes back to college, whether it's Texas A&M or elsewhere, and that's come to the forefront because there was a report that, and we've confirmed, that Stewart is back at Texas A&M working out. He's not working out with the team, but he's back there working out. If he would play college football this year, now, they'd have to get the NCAA to abandon ship on another rule that may very well be the latest antitrust violation. The idea that a player who has never signed a pro contract waives forever his remaining college eligibility. That may be the same kind of antitrust violation that all the other ones are. One letter from Jeffrey Kessler may send them hiding under the nearest bed. It's getting late. Like, the time to do this would have been a month ago, but they could still try. And if that would happen, if he would play college football this year, number one, he gets paid. And there's probably a number at which he would do it. I don't know what the number would be, but at a certain point, the number is enough to get you to defer the start of your pro career by a year, because you delay everything when you do that. Your signing bonus, your pay, your eligibility for a second contract, your eligibility for a fifth-year option, eligibility for free agency, that all gets delayed by a year. So whatever I'm getting this year needs to be enough to get me to willingly bump my career back a year. So that's part of it. But how it would work is the Bengals would still hold his rights as the 17th pick in the draft. He would go back next year to the Bengals, and they'd try to work something out. But he would have made, in the interim, whatever money he makes at Texas A&M or elsewhere in 2025. It is an option. It's not a great one, but it's an option. And it entails more financial return for Shemar Stewart than not playing at all. And the other benefit here, now, I don't know that this would work on the Bengals. It may work on another team, but the Bengals is the Bengals, to paraphrase Juju Smith-Schuster, at least when it comes to cheapness and stubbornness. But for most teams, if Shemar Stewart would create a plausible impression that he's going back to school, that might be enough to get the team to say, okay, let's work out this stupid, nuanced, contractual term that is keeping us from getting a deal done. But the reality is most teams wouldn't be in this spot anyway. To get to the point where you predict what a rational, non-dysfunctional team would do from this point forward, you presume that the rational, non-dysfunctional team would allow itself to be in this stupid predicament where they have a guy that they need in the fold. They need to have him ready to go. They can't afford to be 0-1, 0-2, 0-3. Let's have our best players out there and available. They wouldn't be in this spot. But all other things equal, most teams would, if you catch wind, Shemar's thinking about going back to Texas A&M. Wait, I heard the Booster's got 15 million or whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there, but whatever. Gets back to the Bengals. I'm like, we got to work this damn thing out. Like, most teams would be like, we got to work this out. Bengals may just say, fine, we'll keep his money for a year. Fine. He can come next year. Fine. We don't care. We're not bowing. We're not caving. This isn't about money. This is about power. So much of the monetary fights in the NFL aren't necessarily about the dollars and cents. It's about making sure the players know their place. Don't get that twisted. It's about power. We're in charge. You're not. You just work here and you're temporary. And at some point, you're getting pulled out of the machine and replaced with someone else, but we will endure for decades, if not centuries. That's the attitude. So they don't want to give up any power to the players. That may be at the core of this, but it's stupid. It's just stupid. At some point, you got to put winning above all of that crap. And that's what Carson Palmer said. If you put making money above winning, you've lost. And that's what the Bengals did. And that's why he decided after the 2010 season, get me the F out of here. I don't know who was more loudly saying, get me the F out of here, when it finally came to an end between Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft. And, I'm naive sometimes. When I saw the comments from Bob Kraft to the Dudes on Dudes podcast at the Fanatics Fest last month, there's a sentence I never would have dreamed I would ever say in my life. But when I saw Kraft asked about the best movie made while he's been owner of the Patriots, I thought maybe the ice is melting between Kraft and Bill Belichick, because instead of saying Tom Brady was the best move, drafting him with pick number 199, if you haven't heard, in the 2000 draft, acquiring the rights to Bill Belichick was the best movie ever made. But alas, any sense that all is well between Belichick and Kraft went out the window when Kraft drew a response from Belichick. And it prompted me to go back and take a closer look at what Kraft said. And this is how people engage in public battles without making it look like they're engaging in public battles. They don't come out and say, that guy's an asshole. They're much more subtle about it. And it's backhanded. It's passive aggressive. And when I went back and looked at what Belichick said, I understand why, when I look at what Kraft said to get this started, I understand why Belichick, who's probably looking for anything that would be an indirect diss, I can understand why Belichick said what he said. So here's a quick summary. Here's what Kraft said on the Dudes on Dudes podcast at the Fanatics Fest last month. And we wrote about it a few days ago. It somehow got missed. It got overlooked. MassLive.com had an item, so we thought it was worth passing along. Kraft was asked about the most important decision that he ever made with the Patriots. He said, the one that got questioned the most was in 1999. I gave up a number one draft pick for a coach that had won a little over 40% of his games to get him out. I don't know if there are any Jets fans here. I think getting Bill Belichick to come to the Patriots in 1999 was a big risk, and I got hammered in the Boston area, but he was with us for 24 years. Now, what he's referring to is Belichick had a pre-existing agreement to become the coach of the Jets when Bill Parcells stepped down, and Belichick got thrust into that job, and he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to work for the Jets. He wrote on the cocktail napkin, I hereby resign as HC of the NYJ. And then one thing led to another. He wanted to go to the Patriots. The Patriots wanted him. He got traded de facto to the Patriots, and the rest is history. But the way it was couched by Kraft, yeah, it looks like Kraft is taking this big risk. He's going out on a limb to sign this pariah of a coach that nobody wants. Be careful, be careful. And we've seen that time and again. Kraft went out on a limb for Bill Belichick, that no one really thought that Bill Belichick, who had been fired as Browns coach, even though he shouldn't have been, well, Browns-Ravens coach. The Browns never fired him. They were the Ravens by the time they were fired him. But regardless, he was the coach in Cleveland. He was part of that transition to Baltimore, and then he was out. So, and he'd been a very successful defensive coordinator. But Kraft's point is, people thought this guy was never going to be a good coach. And I took a chance. I saw something in him. I knew, despite his reputation for being an ogre or an asshole or whatever, I saw it in him, and it worked. So Belichick, when he was asked about what Kraft had to say, the same kind of passive-aggressive, not obvious, but still more obvious than what Kraft said. Here's what Belichick said. As I told Robert multiple times through the years, I took a big risk by taking the New England Patriots head coaching job. I already had an opportunity to be the head coach of the New York Jets, but the ownership situation was unstable. I had been warned by multiple previous Patriots coaches, i.e. Bill Parcells, probably, as well as other members of other NFL organizations and the media, that the New England job was going to come with many internal obstacles. I made it clear that we would have to change the way the team was managed to regain the previously attained success. So, yeah. Take that, Bob Kraft. That's Belichick's position. So anyway, to the extent that I foolishly believed that all was well, or at least that Bob Kraft was trying to extend an olive branch, nah. First of all, on further review, he probably wasn't. Second of all, if it was, Belichick basically said, take that branch and shove it. So the discord continues between owner and coach who partnered for, and look, for good reason. I mean, it was reported, and I can't remember who reported it, but it's been accepted as true that when Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, was doing his due diligence on Bill Belichick, Bob Kraft said, don't trust him. I mean, it's basically saying don't hire him. I mean, if you don't trust your coach, why are you hiring him? So, interesting. Very interesting if Belichick ever makes it back to the NFL. At this point, who knows? But one thing that I know is far crazier stuff has happened in the NFL, probably just this year. Okay, question time. And we got a question from my friend Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald. He's been covering the NFL for a long time, covers the Dolphins. He will be on the Joe Rose Show from time to time, WQAM in Miami. I'm on there every Friday morning at or around 9:15. Omar and I have some conversations that way. He's been on the PFT Live show. He was on during the season last year, did a great job with whatever topic it was that we talked about. I think it was like Tua after his concussion, I think. So anyway, here's his question. Is it possible and realistic that these second-round picks and their agents can collude and deliver guaranteed contracts that the NFLPA should be advocating for? It is possible, Omar, but it's just not realistic. Here's why. Because here's what should happen. And we mentioned this the other day. Instead of having these guys hold out now, after they participated in the offseason program, including the mandatory minicamp, despite not being employees of the team, they participated under that participation agreement that, depending upon which team it is, promises you the money that you would make if you'd been under contract and somehow suffer a serious injury. The time to take a stand was then. The time to band together was then. At the latest mandatory minicamp, the agents for all the second-round picks, and some agents represent multiple second-round picks, get everyone together and come up with a plan. Here's how we're going to do this. And you get the NFLPA involved, and frankly, the NFLPA should have been spearheading this. You find the agency that has the most number of second-round picks or the most significant, like Athletes First, which has Nick Emenwari, the Seahawks safety who's unsigned, and also Trey Harris, the first official holdout from the second-round pick class. But I think that the plausible, possible approach would have been to come up with a formula for how many guys in round two are going to have 100% fully guaranteed, because they're not all getting 100% fully guaranteed. Because last year, the guys at the bottom were north of 50, south of 60%. The problem is when the first two go to 100, number one, you need to know how many more are going to get to 100, and then you need to see where those numbers go. 98, 96, 94, 92. That's the dilemma. And that's why once someone does it, and the popular thinking has been in recent days that Quinshon Judkins of the Browns is going to be the first one to do it because of his recent arrest. He'll take less than 100 and the rest of them will fall in line. But what the NFLPA should have brokered, or should have tried to broker, is an arrangement and an agreement among the 30 unsigned second-round picks. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the percentages we're going to ask for. We're all on the same page. And we're going to collectively tell the teams, hey, until you give these guys this full menu, all of them have to get what they're looking for. None of them are showing up. It's basically a de facto strike. It's a picket line set up by the 30 second-round picks. Here's the problem. Good luck enforcing that, because surely the teams would test this. Now, the teams aren't allowed to collude the players and the agents are. But I'll give you an example. Let's say that they would come up with this 30-player presentation. Here's what each one needs to get guaranteed. 100% for the first 5, 98% for the next 2, whatever the numbers are. One guy. Let's say they go to one guy who's asked for 98 and they give it to him. Here's what you want. Forget about these other guys. Here's what you want. You asked for it, you got it. And he crosses, and that's it. It's a microcosm of the thing that has created the imbalance between the league and the players. The league will shut the NFL down for a full season to get what they want. The players will not miss a game check. And that's why it's so critical, not to harp on, not to beat the dead horse, but that's why it's so critical for the union to use everything it can through the collusion ruling, through anything else, to hammer the NFL to create leverage. Create leverage however you can. People from the union have said that. You have to do whatever you can to creatively create leverage. And one way to do it is to kill them with this collusion ruling. You know, if this collusion ruling had been trumpeted back when this was all happening, I mean, you know, maybe the teams would, but well, we better just do these deals. Better give these guys what we want. I mean, look what the Texans did by creating this mess, and the other owners may be looking at the Texans saying, gee, thanks a lot. Because that's how it happened. The Texans gave Jaden Higgins 100% fully guaranteed, first second-round pick ever. He was the second-round pick, second pick in round 2. That screwed everything up. That created this mess. It kind of shows there isn't collusion, or if there is, the Texans are ignoring it. But if you're hammering the NFL with anything you can, if you're putting together leverage like this, if you truly have a rank and file that would be willing to miss game checks, that's the problem. They don't have it. They just don't have it. Cousin Vinny, hey, Mike, can you tell us how the NFL chooses the week 1 opponent for the Super Bowl champs? I picked this one because the answer is very easy. No, I can't, because I don't know. Look, every year when the regular season ends, we know the opponents that every team will play the next year, home and away. And one of the first things I do in the press box at the Super Bowl is I post, as soon as the confetti has hit the ground or while it's still falling, these are the games that could possibly be the Thursday night opener for the next season. Super Bowl champion hosting this team, this team, this team, this team. This year they picked the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they don't typically do division rival, but man, that's a great game out of the gates. It's going to be a sexy game. It's going to be a huge number game right out of the gates. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And every year they make their decision about which team is the best team to have visit the Super Bowl champion to start the season. Next question, do the players pay to be part of the NFLPA? If so, is it a percentage of their salary? Also, do you have to be part of the union if you're a player in the NFL? They pay dues, and they're not a percentage of the salary. It's a flat payment that goes to the NFLPA. You do have to be a member. Now, I don't know how that works in right-to-work states. If you're a team that's in a right-to-work state, do you have to? I don't know how any of that works. But you pay, and I've argued in the past, and this was a long time ago, that the more you make, the more you should be paying the union. It should be a percentage of your pay, not a flat amount, because it's a hell of a lot more expensive for guys at the bottom of the roster to be in the union relative to their earnings than guys at the top of the union. But they do pay dues. And there are legal obligations by the union to the players. The union, this union, benefits from the fact that the players, hey, and I say this as a guy who's firmly committed to what's best for the players. This is a union where the players aren't nearly as invested as they should be. They don't care as much as they could or should. They just want to play football. And the league has been taking advantage of that for a long time. And now union leadership, the non-player union leadership, has motivated and activated and strategized with that being part of the plan, knowing that the players at the end of the day don't care. Let's take advantage of the fact that the players don't care. Just my opinion. All right. I'll probably need to wrap this up soon. There's just one more. 2 more. Let's get to them. Tyler Hergert. Will the NFL ever have the Super Bowl be a pay-per-view event? I know John Skipper, previously the head of ESPN, he was more recently with Meadowlark Media. I'm not sure where he is right now. He was on one of their podcasts and said he thinks eventually the Super Bowl will be pay-per-view. Here's the problem. If they ever do the Super Bowl on a pay-only platform without a free broadcast on one of the over-the-air networks, the broadcast antitrust exemption will disappear the day after the NFL announces the Super Bowl has gone pay-per-view. I guarantee you that. Because the whole idea is we're giving you the broadcast antitrust exemption. The games are available on free TV. That's one of the big arguments the NFL makes to justify its approach to Sunday Ticket. Never mind the fact that we're luring you to buy this because you want to watch your favorite team, even though you don't live in the town where the team plays. You still get free games. The local team, wherever you live, you get free games, free games, free games. The games are free. The games are free. The games are free, except when they aren't. If the Super Bowl ever wasn't free, there would be hell to pay. And there would be a broadcast antitrust exemption gone forever. So look at it this way. Let me put the cart in front of the horse on this. If and when the broadcast antitrust exemption ever disappears for other reasons, fine, let's do a pay-per-view Super Bowl. The problem is, and this is one of the basic challenges of price point in any business, the more you charge, the fewer people are going to consume. The less you charge, the more consume. And when it comes to a big game like the Super Bowl, they want as many people as possible to watch it. They want to have a maximum audience. That's been the approach so far. Now, if you say, okay, and you get mathematicians and ratings experts, and if we would charge $19.99, how many would watch? If we charge $29.99, how many would watch? If we charge $99.99, how many would watch? And what would you, and that's really the question. Ask yourself this. Think about the sporting events you've paid for, boxing matches, UFC, whatever. What would you pay to watch the Super Bowl? And if it was $130 million this past year, how many would watch if they had to pay $100? $99.99, not $100, not $100, not $100, $99.99. A lot of people. I think a lot of people would do it. I know I would. Well, I mean, it's a write-off for me, even though I don't know what a write-off is. Let's write off the final question. Why would an NFL owner who enjoys their position but needs a few $100 million and decide to sell just a small percent of the franchise and keep control rather than a full sale? What percent are owners allowed to sell within NFL rules? Look, now that these franchises are going up and up and up in value, you can take some money off the table by selling a piece of the team. You still control it. Like some of these minority sales, what the 49ers got for a chunk of the team was order of magnitude more than what they paid for the whole team when they bought it. So you can make a ton of money and you still own the team. And yeah, you got a partner now, but you still own the team. You still control the team. So I think right now the minimum is 30% that you have to hold. So you could sell off 70%. You could buy 100% of the team and you could sell off 70%. And you can make a lot of money as these values keep going up and up. You could sell a piece to the Carlyle Group, for which Lloyd Howe, the NFLPA executive director, is a paid consultant. And it's no problem at all for the players who are members of the NFLPA, further proving the fact that they don't care even though they should. All right, that's it for today. I do want to say one last thing before we go. I said this earlier in the PFT PM cycle. And I don't know how interesting tomorrow is going to be, but tomorrow could be an interesting day. I'll leave it at that. Enjoy your Wednesday. See you Thursday. Check us out around the clock at profootballtalk.com. Thanks for some of your time. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.